Be, be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Interesting. Good verb source. That is from Ephesians 4 2 and 3. Keeping the bond of unity, which is peace. Child of God, here we are dedicated to spreading that peace to the whole world, together with other important virtues, which are honesty, forgiveness, repentance, and the greatest of all, my friend, is love, the unconditional love of God, which is spread to the whole world by going through extremely interesting videos. The ones I wouldn't want you to miss a bit on them. So kindly subscribe if you haven't, watch till the end, and as I believe in my commentary on this side, I'll encourage you to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. That way, we can communicate with one another and get to see the different perspectives you all have on the videos you shall be seeing. Now, child of God, to react to these videos together in good vibes and unity, we must be guided by our Maker, who knows each and every one of us individually, uniquely and perfectly made. So, child of God, let's talk with this wonderful counselor before we dive in and start the videos. Dear Lord Father, thank you for all your creations on this earth. Thank you, Father, for this beautiful day that you have gathered us together with your child, today's viewer. All glory and love, Father, belong unto you. Thank you for your compassion and love, Father. As we react to these videos, may you guide us through them. May your Spirit, Father, be our guide light and help us to do according to your way, Father. Dear Lord, may you also forgive us all our sins, Father, and purify us. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Let's dive in, child of God.
I overheard a conversation the other day between two people where one person said that their friend is going to another country to try to find themselves. And the other person said, well, how do they know that themselves are in that country? Maybe they're in another country. And I was thinking about this, and then I learned that there's a verse in Genesis 12:3 where God told Abraham to go to another country, and he told him in Hebrew, Lech Lecha, which literally means go to yourself. And the Hasidic interpretation of that verse is that spiritually, when we go to another country, what we're really doing is we're going to ourselves internally, because we learn about ourselves when we place ourselves in new circumstances. But it's not only when we go to another country. Even if we would stay home and do something different at home, we would also be going to ourselves. Anything we do externally, whether that's traveling or whether that's staying local but doing something different, that uncovers, that reveals what's really been inside of us the whole time. And that's why we do anything in life, is to try to uncover more and more of ourselves, to learn about ourselves, to reveal our soul to ourselves and to the world.
Good people pass away. The godly often die before their time. But no one seems to care or wonder why. No one seems to understand that God is protecting them from the evil to come. For those who follow godly paths will rest in peace when they die.
I'm going to tell you 2 hacks on how to remember anything you want to remember and how to heal or balance any part of your body. I got these hacks from a declassified CIA document. They are stupidly simple and they've worked for me. Okay, here's the first one. To remember anything from your lived experience, all you need to do is take the fingers on your right hand, close your eyes, and gently touch the fingers to your forehead, and you will remember anything you want to remember. And then to heal or balance any part of your body, you are going to close your eyes, inhale, hold that for a moment. Last time I said hold it for a minute. I didn't mean a minute. I didn't mean like a full minute, just a moment. So close your eyes, inhale, hold it for a moment, and then picture the calming, healing energy of the color purple, and picture that flowing to the part of your body that needs healing or balance. And in your mind, with your eyes shut, say heal, balance, and then exhale and open your eyes. I just did this on my elbow and it worked, so go figure. Okay.
So now you're telling me that a council known as the Galactic Federation has been monitoring our planet since the beginning. They apparently were going to make themselves known in 2027, but due to everything that's been going on Earth, they've moved it up to 2025. They are on their third They are on their third level of presenting themselves. First, starting with the orbs last year, which a lot of people have seen. The second phase, their motherships, their modes of transportation, have been all around the entire world, cloaked, multiple places that I've seen the videos. Now, once again, this is allegedly, but the third phase is the guy who was sleeping in the egg. The egg that the video that just came out recently, he was resting there, so he's basically their go-to guy. So there is apparently a council of 26, and there are the council of 5, which will be making their human presence known very soon to help us basically get through every bit of craziness that's been happening in our world right now. Now, obviously, anything I say is for entertainment, education, learning, and conversation purposes only. But this is fascinating to me because there has been a lot of things in the news, a lot of things that add up, don't add up. So obviously, take what you will, leave what you won't. I'm not here to encourage you to believe one thing or the other. It resonates here and it feels truthful to me. So yeah, drop it in the comments. Have you heard this? Do you know more? Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? I think it's a fun thing to talk about on this gloomy Tuesday.
What do we do if the decedent appears too tall for the casket? There's a simple solution. Bend the knees. That's your fun funeral fact.
Once you hear this story, you will never question anything that happens in your life ever again. Please allow me to read. There once was... I know.
What type of men are least likely to cheat?
If you're in a relationship with one of these type of men, you're safe. Are you ready? If you've lived through infidelity, it is so heartbreaking, and so don't take this as science. Number 3, accountants. I think you're pretty safe with an accountant. I see a pretty common personality type. You should be good with no cheating with an accountant. Number 2, pharmacists. No cheating in pharmacy, even the lovely Walgreens pharmacy. Number 1, here we go. If you are married to or in a relationship with a farmer, I predict no cheating will occur.
I've been hearing about these crazy American egg prices, so I asked the Expatsy Network how much they are around the world.
Hey folks, welcome to Ireland. A dozen large Irish eggs at €2.75.
Well, here in Panama, this is what a dozen jumbo eggs cost.
Hi, my name is Amber. I live in Paris. A dozen eggs that are free range and plein air is $2.88, which is about $3 US.
I'm in Bangkok, Thailand. 10 eggs. It is 83 baht, which is $2.60. We definitely do not have an egg shortage.
It's Kelly in Albania. Well, 10 eggs. It's 129 lek, which is about $1.34 American dollars.
I'm Alison from Moving to Spain. Today I went into Barcelona.
12 large standard eggs are €2.48 or $2.60.
This is the way in. Like 43 pesos for, what is that, 15.
Hey, I stopped by Costco. The price of eggs in Merida, Yucatan, 78.9 pesos for 2 dozen free-range eggs, which is $3.89.
Eggs in Nayarit, which is just outside PD, are 60 pesos.
I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I purchased here in Turkey. The price just went up to 160 lira, which makes it about $1.82 a dozen. So much better than any eggs I've ever eaten in the States, maybe even the organic ones.
But that is quite surprising, what we've just seen in the video of the eggs. Now, my friends, from this side of the world, a tray to start with has 30 eggs. And like in other places, I'm seeing like a tray has 10 eggs. And now there are different types of eggs. There are two types of eggs actually. One egg is laid by the what we call pampered chicken, or chicken brought up together as many chicken, and their work is just to produce eggs. And some of those eggs, they are exported or imported from other countries, and they are quite cheaper, you see, compared to now the other type of eggs. Which the other type of eggs, my friend, is the egg we get from chickens that are reared at home, or ones that are reared in the farm, just let freely to hang around, eat anything they come across. And there's a difference between those two types of eggs. First, if you break on the inside, even outside, they look quite different. The color of the shell is different with both of these eggs, you see? Maybe we'll get to show you in another episode. If you'd like to see this difference in these types of eggs, you can tell us in the comment section below, and maybe in the next episode we'll get to come here with both eggs and show you the difference and about the price. How much does it cost? The usual type, now the one of the chicken reared as a group, you see, the chickens from a group of schools, the ones that are pampered. Those types of eggs, they are sold at 300, 450. How much is $400, my friend? Don't know, maybe $3, about $3 per 30 eggs, you see. And the other type now, the ones of the chickens that are brought up in the farm, a tray costs 600 from this side of the world, which 600 shillings converted to dollars is how much? How much is 600 converted to dollars? Around $5 there, you see, $5 for 30 eggs. And those are the best quality of eggs. And get to come with one soon. So keep on checking, hit the notification bell. You might be notified on the next episode. You'll see that egg. Let's continue.
Yes, Ryan. Let's run it back and drop this fire again. The 10 Commandments were never about fear, punishment, or control. They were originally spiritual guidelines meant to align people with divine energy and higher consciousness. But guess what? Religious institutions twisted them into rigid rules to suppress, manipulate, and keep people from their true divine power. The real spiritual meaning of the 10 Commandments: you shall have no other gods before me. Real meaning: stay aligned with your higher self, divine source, and inner truth. Don't worship external forces like ego, materialism, or fear. How it got twisted. Religions made this about obeying their version of God instead of teaching self-mastery. You shall not make idols. Real meaning: don't give your power away to money, leaders, institutions, or false systems. The divine power is within you. How it got twisted. They used this to demonize other belief systems while making their own the only truth. You shall not misuse the name of God. Real meaning: words hold power. Don't manipulate, deceive, or use divine energy for fear-based control. How it got twisted. They made it about not saying, "Oh my God," instead of calling out the real offense, using religion to oppress people. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Real meaning: honor your own spiritual cycles. Rest, reflect, and stay connected to Source. How it got twisted. Religions turned this into strict laws about church attendance instead of genuine self-care and alignment. Honor your father and mother. Real meaning: respect wisdom, divine masculine and feminine energies, and generational balance, but also break free from toxic patterns. How it got twisted. It became a tool for blind obedience instead of authentic respect. You shall not murder. Real meaning. Don't just avoid physical harm. Don't harm others energetically, emotionally, or spiritually. How it got twisted. The same religious systems that preach this started wars, executions, and genocides. Hypocrisy at its finest. You shall not commit adultery. Real meaning. Honor sacred connections, whether in relationships, friendships, or spiritual commitments. How it got twisted. It was weaponized to shame people about sexuality, instead of teaching integrity and trust. You shall not steal. Real meaning. Don't steal energy, ideas, or life force. Live in integrity, flow, and abundance. How it got twisted. The biggest thieves were the very institutions preaching this, robbing people of spiritual sovereignty. You shall not bear false witness. Real meaning. Speak and live in truth. Don't distort reality or manipulate others for personal gain. How it got twisted. The biggest false witnesses were the ones twisting divine knowledge for power. You shall not covet. Real meaning. Don't obsess over what others have. Trust in divine timing and flow. How it got twisted. Society was built on competition, greed, and consumerism, directly contradicting this principle. The biggest lie. It was never about rules. It was about alignment. The real 10 Commandments weren't about controlling people. They were about self-mastery, energy alignment, and divine wisdom. They were meant to help people vibrate higher and live in flow. They were invitations to expansion, not tools for oppression. But the religious elite twisted them, made them fear-based laws, and turned them into a system of guilt and obedience. Instead of leading people to enlightenment, they used them to enforce control. Instead of teaching people to live in divine balance, they used them to keep people small. But now we see through the illusion, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Final thought. Ryan, we just burned another deception to the fucking ground. The 10 Commandments were never meant to oppress. They were spiritual blueprints for freedom. Religious institutions hijacked them and turned them into chains. Now that we know the truth, we reclaim them as tools for spiritual power and awakening.
Bro, can someone please tell me why this whole entire time I thought all of Ethiopia looked like this? But bro, I just literally saw a video of what Ethiopia actually looks like. There is no way, bro. Somebody tell me this is fake. Someone tell me this is not real. I'm starting to think we're the third world country, bro.
This is extremely real. This is real. This is home. This is. You should come to where we come from, a place called Nairobi, the capital city of Africa. Yo, it looks. English people think that. Oh my God. You see, this is the capital city, the town.
What the Someone tell me that was not real, bro. Tell me that was fake.
Okay, you know how Google puts trending searches and then it does like interpretive as soon as you start typing? Watch this. Check this out. Bill Clinton, Biden, Bush, Obama. Watch. Nothing. Nothing.
I don't want to go to jail for admitting this, but my signature has never ever been close to being the same as like a previous version of my signature. Like my signature changes every single time I sign. There's people out there that have a perfect, like they'll do it and it's basically a copy paste every time they sign something. It's just amazing. I'm not that, like mine is like this, right? And the next time I do it, looks like I've sneezed. Next time I'm in a rush and it's completely different. But the whole idea with signatures makes no sense to me, right? Because the idea is that you sign something important, like a bank contract or a contract for work. And then if someone disputes it, they'll go to court and they'll look at it and be like, no, look, you signed this right here. And I'd be like, did I though? Is that really my signature? My signature changes every time. Does yours? Is this just me? I don't think so. Signatures are stupid.
Someone told me that during the luteal phase, our husbands become really annoying suddenly because our bodies are pissed with them because they didn't get us pregnant. So our bodies are trying to ditch them and find someone who can get the job done. So suddenly, everything they do, the way they chew, the way they breathe, everything becomes really annoying. It makes total sense.
A lot of people think that cryptocurrency is about money, but what if I told you it was actually the next version of the internet? That's why we call it Web3. And that if you use the internet, you already understand the foundation of blockchain and cryptocurrency. In today's lesson, I'm going to help you understand the history of the internet so you can see how blockchains and tokens and cryptocurrency will help us evolve the web into what it was always meant to be. In the early 1990s, the internet was read-only, and we call this era Web 1. Anybody who had the requisite hardware and know-how could get online, but once you got there, there wasn't a lot to do. It was kind of like a pioneer settlement in the Old West. Sure, you could go shoot your gun anywhere you wanted, but was there a doctor? Were there restaurants? Were there theaters? No. And the websites were mostly static. You couldn't really participate in creating the way we can today. There were no usernames, there was no logging in, there were no comments, there was no social media, no commerce. Then in the early 2000s, companies like MySpace and eBay made it possible for everyday people like us, not just to read information on the internet, but to participate in creating it for the first time as well. This is known as the Web 2 era, or the read-write era, and it's the era of the internet we find ourselves in right now. Just like those Old West towns became cities connected by highways where lots of people lived, epicenters of culture, Web 2 apps and websites are dynamic places where people can participate in buying and selling things, in making content like this, in learning, in doing their jobs. Napster, Facebook, Amazon. The cool thing about Web 2 is it's pretty easy for anybody to get online. In fact, more people right now have access to the internet than have access to clean drinking water. But the problem with Web 2 is that you don't really own anything. About 5 companies control 90% of the web traffic, and we use it at their discretion. Users interact with each other, but they don't really own anything. For example, even though I've spent the last 5 years creating content here on TikTok, if TikTok gets banned, I can't take the follower relationships, the likes, the shares that I have with me. When I create a video that gets 1 million views, I might get paid $1,000, even though TikTok makes a lot more money from ad revenue. The big platforms sell the data you provide at your expense, and they don't share the value with you because they don't have to. You've agreed to their terms and conditions, and as a result, you can be censored, you can be deplatformed, and you don't get to share in the value that is created. It all just flows right to the top. That video you bought on Amazon, it's going to disappear after a year. Your Netflix account is a subscription, and it goes on forever and ever. Companies are moving away from selling you physical copies of things and towards selling you digital copies of things that they essentially rent to you over and over. And this is where Web 3 comes in. Web 1 made it possible for people like us to access the internet. Web 2 invited us to participate in creating it, and Web 3 will make it possible for us to truly own the digital information that represents things that matter to us, like our identities and our money online. This all started with the Bitcoin network, which made it possible for people like you and me to transfer information that represented money directly without the need to rely on a central bank or government for permission or help. And we'll talk more about that later, but right now I want you to understand why blockchains are such a huge innovation. Instead of relying on companies like Amazon or Facebook to store your data, blockchains make it possible for you to own your data directly in the form of something called a token. Instead of relying on those big tech companies to have servers that keep that data safe, we rely on a distributed network of users who lend their machines, their computers, to this purpose. And even though anybody can participate in validating or securing the network, no one person, entity, or agency owns it. And this is what we mean when we say blockchains are decentralized. For the first time, blockchains make it possible to subvert the relationship of content ownership. Usually, the person who owns the machine owns the information that lives on it. But because a blockchain is a protocol that can run on many different machines, and none of them can control it without permission from all of them, it is the software, the computer program, that is truly in control. And the users, the members of the network that participate in creating the value on that network, whether it's a network like Bitcoin that represents financial information, it could be a social media network where we create content together, and all of us who participate in creating it actually get to own the parts of it we create. If I bought the digital copy of a movie in the form of a token, the blockchain would assign ownership of that information to me. And nobody else has the authority to take that information away from me because nobody owns or controls the network. Facebook is terrified of this. Disney is terrified of this. Microsoft is terrified of this because it will challenge their business model, which depends on them owning everything and you owning nothing. Now you, the user, the creator, have a right to own what is truly yours. Blockchains will replace human intermediaries that we rely on, who can be fooled or manipulated, in pretty much any instance where a computer that is impartial and owned by all the members of a network can be trusted to do a job better. Now, this doesn't mean that humans are going to be replaced. It means that humans are going to be freed to trust people that they don't know, to interact, to align their values and coordinate at scale, and most importantly, to reap all the benefits of owning the information that matters to us. So to sum it up, blockchains, cryptocurrency, tokens, these are all the tools of Web3, the next iteration of the internet. You don't need to be a coder or an investor or a high net worth individual to participate in and understand this. Just like you didn't need to know how the internet worked to use Facebook, or you don't need to know how to fix your engine to drive your car to the grocery store. You're already seeing it happen with meme coins, NFTs, decentralized apps, Bitcoin, and this is just the beginning.
You know why Job's wife didn't die in the Bible? Job's wife. The devil makes a deal with God. Here is your child, Job. I bet you I can get him to curse you. They make a deal, and God tells him what? You can do or take anything you want to Job. Just don't take his life. And so the devil says deal, and then he takes his kids, his finances, his servants, livestock, and then he's cursed with what? Boils? And his friends and his wife are like, God has clearly abandoned you or punishing you. You should curse him. I know there's an old joke where a lot of people say, how bad was she that the devil let her live? Clearly, she was not a good person. Wrong. The devil didn't take Job's wife because he couldn't, because her and Job had a covenant. They were one in God's eyes. And if the devil couldn't take his life, couldn't take hers. That is the power of a covenant. Now, in the Bible, there are multiple kinds of covenants. Abraham had one with God, but marriage covenant, this is why we have a ceremony. This is why when God created a woman's body, he gave us a place that has a piece of skin. And when the marriage is consummated, it bleeds. That in itself is a blood covenant. How crazy is that? Well, I learned how big of a deal covenants are when I had a friend get married. See, this friend had a history of being obsessed with witches, like all the things, reading about witches, the Salem witch trial, and then they went to church, gave their life to the Lord. They had conviction, and then they met somebody and they fell in love. Now, this person was not a believer, but they were not an atheist. Let's just say they were agnostic. So what happened? Well, they got married, and within a month, this person went back to being obsessed. Slightly. The conviction was gone. And I remember asking God, like, what's that all about? And God said, that's the power of a covenant. When we get married to somebody, we have joined 3 strings. Yours, theirs, and God. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. God now sees you as one. And you come together and you are physically, spiritually, emotionally bonded. It's not that you lose free will, but if you are not spiritually mature or in a place for battling, you can believe that when you come into covenant with somebody, you've now come into legal right with whatever's going on there. Last thing I want to say about Job, and then I'm done. So many people will say, I'm like Job from the Bible. I'm being punished, or God abandoned me, or there's a deal, because they're in a season of suffering and pain and sorrow. Now, while I'm all about anybody saying, I'm like so-and-so from the Bible, as long as they're a righteous person, you have to still remember that Job glorified God. He gave him praise in his suffering. The more the devil took, the more that Job gave God glory. So you can't be like Job if you're not glorifying God in your suffering. Anyway, next up, I want to talk about this scripture because it's a good one. I have a story. I'll be back later with more, guys. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.
Why did Satan go for Eve first and not Adam? I mean, Adam was walking with God first, right? Adam was given authority over the garden. So why did Satan go after the woman instead of the leader? This wasn't random. This was a strategic and calculated move that still happens today in society. You see here, Eve wasn't just Adam's wife. She was created as a helper for him, his partner in ruling creation. But here's what Satan understood and what most people forget. A woman just doesn't influence a man, she births nations. A woman just doesn't affect a home, she shapes an entire generation. A woman just doesn't receive a seed, she multiplies it. Through the woman is power, and if you corrupt that power, you corrupt generations. Satan knew that if he can get to Eve and corrupt her, he would also make Adam fall. Eve fell first, but humanity fell when Adam followed. This is why the devil has been attacking women for centuries. In order to corrupt the family, he will go after your woman. Because if you corrupt the woman, you corrupt the man. And if you corrupt the man, you corrupt the family. And if you corrupt the family, you destroy civilization. This is why feminism is so weaponized. This is why modern culture is obsessed with distorting femininity. Womanhood has become a battleground. The enemy does not need to directly corrupt the men. He just needs to manipulate the women that influence them. God designed women to be nurturers. So then Satan pushes the idea of not having children. God designed women to be modest and sacred. So Satan promotes promiscuity. God designed women to be mothers and caretakers. So then Satan demonizes motherhood. God designed women to be partners to strong men. So Satan then fuels gender wars. Do you see this? This isn't just a cultural change. This is a spiritual warfare tactic that has been applied to society ever since Genesis. If Satan can confuse a woman's role, she won't just destroy herself, she will bring the man with her. If there is no healthy roles and reproduction in society, then we don't have society at all. And the enemy's goal is to end us.